Okay. If mathematics can show relativity is invalid, that's not much worth further analyze anymore. However, relativity promoters may still insist there are feasible evidence, observations that only relativity can explain. However, I would like to show how all the physical observation and evidence turn out disproving relativity, indeed ruin relativity. We all know this equation. That is the theorem of velocity addition. And in this picture, the orange frame has a speed u with respect to the light bulb frame. And then this light bulb has a speed w with respect to this orange frame. According to this equation, any of this value is equal to c, v must end up as c. Okay, now if I know w and I know v, the resultant speed, how can I know speed u? So I'm going to solve that equation in terms of u. And then I got here. If w, and as relativity assumes, w equal to c, and v is also equal to c, according to this equation, I will end up like this. Eventually, u will become 0 over 0. It means that in the real world, there's no speed can materialize the world fantasized by relativity. Again, we already see this original quotation. I put this slide and this slide together, and so that if relativity is genuine to itself, the value here and here should not be what relativity says, but it should be this value instead of this. But this is from Newtonian physics or from Galilean transformation. Only this is from relativity itself. However, with this value, it ends up c over here. With the c, we can develop this time advancement over here. But this is a moving length seen by the ground observer. So it turns out that it should be times this vector and to this rest length, so that it will come out as more more true to the relativity. However, this is actually the time advancement registered by the clock moving with the moving frame, which is this. Now, with this, we end up with this. This is the clock registered by a ground observer. This is a time advancement registered by the moving observer. It means that moving clock, the time advancement, has to have more time for the ground observer to see it. The moving clock runs faster is concluded by relativity. In other words, relativity can have two conclusions, self-contradicting. A very straightforward conclusion from it is moving clock runs slower. That is what we have been told all the time. But actually, right now we can find the equation relativity also can claim moving clock runs faster. As a matter of fact, in relativity, almost any conclusion or claim relativity made, you can find another part of the same theory contradicting to it. In the real world, we can see frequency shift in both the blue direction and the red direction on the optical spectrum. Blue shift and red shift is very direction dependence. But moving clock runs slower. That claim has no direction concern. So the contradiction shows up right away, right there. Okay, this is the Ives-Stilwell equations for blue shift, and I'm not going to give detailed step-by-step calculation here, but eventually, with proper replacing of some quantity, we get to this equation. The Ives-Stilwell equation is good only with V equals 0 according to relativity. In other words, the real world shows this equation and then it rejects relativity. Because with V equals 0, relativity says that light source is not moving. But if the light source is not moving, relativity destroys its own assumption already. But my reading is not very good, and would you please, you read it yourself, please. Okay, let me see if I can go to the next slide. Okay, relativity is devised on the assumption that light is consistent of particles, some projectiles ejected by a light source. But with that assumption or that concept, it shows itself a failing theory. And to me, light has no mass nature, no material nature, but energy nature. Just like sound, the relocation of this energy involves a medium. There's no material relocation involved. So I believe we should restore and revive the concept of ether. Of course, if you don't like that term, ether, you can call it something else. But I think it's a medium should be required for light to be able to transport from one location to another location there is no such thing photon. Because photon involves two things, energy and material. And because of the ethers, the existence of ether or medium, if you like to call it, and this principle people have been taking for granted for many centuries would have a little bit of problem. This principle has been taken with or without relativity. With the ether's existence, I might take it that there is an ether frame existing. And so if two inertial frames moving with respect to each other, it is possible, not necessarily possible, one of the frame is absolute stationary with respect to the ether frame. So in that case, if somebody shine a few light beams in a space, he may see all those light beams in the same color. However, the other observer moving with respect to him may see all the light beams in different colors. And also, because the existence of an ether frame, observer on different moving inertial system may not claim anymore speed of the light. It is the same value to his own frame. And speed of light is constant. That's only true to the ether frame itself. That speed, if it's constant, is because it's characterized by that medium, which we call the ether for many centuries already. Okay. The third point is very important in our next discussion. A mirage. If there is a relative movement between an observer and the light source has a movement, the observer must see a mirage for that light source. In other words, if you travel and see the traffic light, you may see also the mirage of the traffic light behind the traffic light, except that our car's speed is too slow compared to the speed of light. So the ability of our naked eye cannot discern between the actual light and the mirage of that light. Okay, and I should stop here, and there will be another presentation. Get more involved with this. Get more involved this mirage problem. That is very important in our stellar aberration analysis. Thank you very much.
We have questions. We can take questions, and actually, if you want, Cameron, we could take questions on this, and then continue. If you wanted, you could do your other one as well, unless you wanted. Well, but let's take questions first. We'll take questions on those first two.
Okay. Yeah.
If that was okay with everybody, since we're going quicker. Okay. So, do we have some questions?
I'll just ask this question. I get the impression that you do not think that a real Lorentz contraction occurs with real meters and real yardsticks. Is that fair?
To me, Lorentz factor. To me, Lorentz factor is a real thing.
Okay.
However, contraction on length and dilation on time are not real. Later on, I will show that even relativity can prove length is absolute, time is absolute. There's no such thing of time dilation and length contraction. Although Lorentz factor is omnipresent in our observation, as soon as the observer and the light source has a relative movement. Yes, sir.
You know, over 100 years now, there's no observational evidence for length contraction at all, and so it's never been observed. I don't think it ever will be.
I think the length contraction is first proposed by Lorentz because there is something he could not explain at that time. And particularly, and I would mention this topic a little ahead of time, particularly after the centuries of stellar aberration. The stellar aberration, if it is not seen in the correct mathematical way, the length contraction is easily proposed. But later on, I'll show that if the stellar aberration is seen in a more correct mathematical way, and then Lorentz contraction of the length will not be a concern. That's all.
What about mass expansion?
Okay, since V equals 0, C equals 0 is so real in relativity's derivation, I don't think that E equal to mc squared is invalid. So I don't think mass can increase by itself because of speed. There's no theory can suggest it. Yes, sir.
I want to respond to Edward's question because the way it was explained to me is that when we're talking about making measurements of these objects in different frames, if you start out with the assumption that you're going to use light as your measuring tool, then all of a sudden this explains why you will think that these things are moving at higher speeds or smaller, because you now have all the mathematics to show that light times and distances always make the contraction. But again, when you say, the length is always absolute, this is the paradox again of the brothers, the traveling brothers, because if you're Alice on the spaceship and I'm Bruce down here on Earth and I look up, I measure your sticks to be shorter, well, you're looking at my sticks and you're saying they're shorter. So a way that we both can have shorter sticks is that they're really always the same thing, but our measuring tool is different. Now, if we had a super light that had no speed limit, then we'd always see them the same. And it's important to really see that case. All right.
I would like to say, if relativity can end up with a value like this, U equals 0 over 0, I think people can create any paradox that he want to.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, continuing on what Bruce said, that the Ives-Stilwell experiment, for example, is really, when you get right down to it, it's an experiment of accelerated clocks, not an experiment of length contraction or time dilation. And if it was length and time dilation, you would have that added onto the impact of the accelerated clocks, and you don't see that. So you can accept one and ignore the other, but if you're going to invoke them both, you have to invoke them both all the time. You would see an additional effect.
I agree.
Not seeing that.
I agree. Okay, so move to the next one now, please.
Yeah, we'll stop this and go to the
Okay.
next one.